you wanted the best, you've got the best podcast, the hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Folks, Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the Iron Lady things that makes official. Welcome to 16 years and nearly 3,000 episodes of the Chris Voss Show. One of the oldest, actually the oldest, still broadcasting on a daily basis podcast out of a handful that are still left after all these years. Anyway, guys, support the pirate ship, if you will. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, linkedin.com/Chris Voss, youtube.com/Chris Voss, and all those crazy places on the internet you can find us. Today, we have an amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about her journey through a lot of different things that she founded in the gig economy and some of the different journeys she's on and what she's up to today. Leah Solivan is the founder of TaskRabbit, who pioneered the gig economy and is now disrupting venture capital with the same bold vision that made her one of Fast Company's 100 most creative people in business. She's closing her first fund, Precedent VC, laser focused on AI-powered marketplaces. I've heard those things are hot right now, that AI. Within 6 months, she did it, and while simultaneously writing a book, hosting the Breaking President podcast, serving on 3 major boards, Pet Meds, San Francisco Ballet, YPO Pacific US, and hosting the Unprecedented Lunch series, intimate off-the-record gatherings where founders, investors, scientists, and civic leaders tackle the hardest problems in regulated industries like healthcare. Welcome to the show, Leah. How are you?
Thanks so much for having me on. I'm doing great. How are you?
Thanks for coming. I'm doing awesome. Give us .coms or .whatevers on how people can find out more about you on the interwebs.
Yeah, the easiest way is just to go to leahsolivan.com. That's where I have my book, my podcast, and my fund.
So let's get into it. What do we want to talk about first of what you're doing there at Precedent? The podcast or the VC work, or I'll let you lead off with that.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris, because the fund really evolved out of the podcast. So let's start with the podcast. I was on maternity leave with my 4th child, and I wanted a creative project. And so I had the idea to start a podcast called Breaking Precedent, where I interview leaders across industries that are shifting society in some way, and not just business and tech people, but artists and activists and politicians as well. And I had so much fun as interviewing these thought leaders and hearing their inspiring stories that the podcast actually morphed into a book deal. So I do have a book coming out next summer. The book is being titled now, but I think it will also be called Breaking Precedent. And it becomes this rebel toolkit for navigating work, identity, leadership, and life. And it'll include some stories from TaskRabbit, as well as other people's stories from the podcast as well. But after I got the book in place, I thought, you know what? This is a great time to start a fund. And so I launched the fund Precedent VC. We're investing at the earliest stages of technology companies. And we're really looking for this next generation of founders that are category defining and precedent setting and creating new experiences for consumers.
Wow. There's a lot of that coming up on board with AI. It just seems like it's the hottest thing right now.
There's so much happening. It's just the consumer behavior, consumer mindset is shifting. There's been certain inflection points with technology where everything has changed, and AI is certainly one of those inflection points.
Now, if anyone's listening out there that's interested in investing in funds, is your fund only open to accredited investors or certain types of investors?
It is. You have to be an accredited investor to join the LP base. But we're doing a next close in the next 4 to 6 weeks or so. So it's an exciting time.
Congratulations. Hey, we need to get a fund for the Chris Voss Show podcast, man. Let's get that on we'll have to get that on the cooker. I need a fund just for me, just for my spending. Can we do that? Is that legal? Anyway, maybe I'll run for president and make it legal. You've done this Precedent thing. When did you start the podcast, and what was your journey kind of like? I'm kind of interested. We started ours so many years ago. I can't feel my legs or my brain for that matter. But what was it like starting, and how long you been doing it, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I started the podcast almost 2 years ago now, and the fund within the last 6 months or so. But prior to that, I had my own company. So I founded a company called TaskRabbit back in 2008. I was living in Boston at the time. And TaskRabbit is one of those apps where you can go and you can outsource small jobs, tasks, and errands to other people in your neighborhood, in your community. So I ran that company for about a decade as CEO. Wow. Raised $50 million in venture capital funding. And then in 2017, I sold that company to IKEA, the global furniture retailer, because no one likes to assemble IKEA furniture by themselves. So it was a perfect partnership.
Yeah, not even IKEA, evidently, because they just don't even bother.
Yeah. That's why they bought TaskRabbit. They were like, we need someone to do this for us. So since 2017, I've moved over to the investor side. I've been investing early companies. I was early into a company called Nanit, which is a baby monitor, computer vision baby monitor company. A company called Picasso, which is in the real estate, property tech space. A childcare marketplace called Upwards. So all kinds of different companies. I have about 150 companies across 3 funds that I've invested in over the last 10 years.
Wow. So you just been having fun there. And you're based in Silicon Valley now, or Boston? Or?
I am. I'm based outside of Palo Alto.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Love Boston.
Did I even do that good?
That's where I grew up. No, it's more, let me see if I can do it. Boston, but I don't know. I'm half Puerto Rican, so I've got like a Spanish accent, and I don't know. Yeah.
Puerto Rican, a PR, Boston PR. I don't have any jokes for that, but yeah, we had the governor on of Massachusetts on a couple of years ago. Really nice guy, and seemed to play down the middle. At least that's how he presented himself. I don't live in Massachusetts, but really nice guy. I gave him my Ted Kennedy impression, and he gave me a pity laugh, pretty much. Anyway, with the Precedent and your podcast, what future do you see this coming out to be? What do you hope to achieve on both those fronts? And are we on the precipice of a new AI revolutionary age? Maybe.
I feel every day in the headlines, the word unprecedented is being used today, right? It's like unprecedented times, unprecedented technology, whatever is happening. Everything right now is unprecedented. And that was the point of starting the fund and the podcast. And it's let's explore what is happening, what innovations are happening, and how precedents are being broken and reset, and entire pieces of our society are being changed in real time. We live in a really exciting time, if you look at it that way. I think the other big time where technology was at this inflection point was when I started TaskRabbit. And so that was in 2008. The iPhone had just come out the prior year. Facebook was just breaking out of the college scene and becoming more mainstream. And all of a sudden you had location-based technology in these phones all the time. And so at the time in 2008, my background is engineering. So I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to mash up social, location, and mobile, connect real people in the real world to get real things done. And obviously ran that company for a decade. So I feel like we're at this new inflection point where we know that over 60% of Americans in the last 6 months have used some form of AI. We know that millennials, specifically millennial parents, over 85% of them are using AI on a daily basis. So we are seeing habit formation happening. We are seeing the consumer mindset changing in real time. And I think that a lot of the most iconic companies are going to be started in the next 12 to 18 months.
We should close this thing down and restart just so we can catch the wave. Yeah.
Maybe an AI native version of the Chris Voss Show.
The Chris Voss AI Show. Hi, yes. I'm Chris Voss. Welcome to show. Yeah, there. I think it's like that now from some of the comments I get on YouTube. Anyway.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's probably true. That's probably true.
The one thing I always get is that they always eviscerate me that I either talk too much or I don't talk enough. And I can't win. I can have one of those professor speakers come on, and they just go on a speaker thing, and I just sit here and go like Carson and just go, okay, let me know when you're done. Fuck you. And so I barely talk through the whole thing because they think it's a TED Talk, and I'll still get like, would you let the guy freaking talk? And the other thing is too is you may know from doing a podcast, if I'm talking more than the guest, I'm filling. Because the guest is killing me, right? They're giving me dead radio error. You're like, so tell us about your book. Well, it's got a binder and a cover. And you're like, dude, we got half an hour here, man. You're killing me. Yes. I'm going to have to carry this show. So anytime I'm telling my stories, you know it's a bad show. Anyway, I think the audience has figured that out. So let me ask you this. In 2008, not only was it the iPhone, there was a precipice of so many people getting laid off. Yeah. Especially in like tech and different things and fields. It was a huge crash in 2008. I lost an empire of companies. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Great times. But out of that came this great social media and Twitter, Facebook, and all these different things, your company. And so that unemployment spurred the brilliance of ideas, I think. And maybe we're up for that again. We have these huge tech layoffs seem to be getting just beaten with the AI. Yeah. And so there's a lot of great people out there that can code, that know how to build these and design these sort of online formats. And so I think it's going to lead to that new thing. Do you think that's maybe a factor that's going to drive this, all those unemployments and stuff?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. In 2008, when all this was happening, I had just left a very cushy job at IBM. My parents thought I was insane for quitting and starting a company from nothing by myself. It seemed really, really crazy at the time. But it turned out, as you pointed out, the best time to start a company like TaskRabbit because so many people were being laid off and people needed new ways of making money. They needed flexible work. So I was actually shocked when I first started the company and I put that first ad out on Craigslist asking for taskers. We call them taskers. And I was flooded with applications. And they were lawyers, teachers, physicians that had been laid off from full-time work. Oh my gosh, these are highly educated people that have been in the workforce a long time and they want to come be TaskRabbits. Okay, great. And so we were really able to use that as a signal at the time to build out a marketplace for them to earn money. So it was an inflection point for that reason. And I think now with AI, you're right, the same sort of thing is happening. Tech workers are being laid off in droves. That certainly, I think, opens up opportunity for people to innovate. And then I think the other thing that's happening is because AI is so powerful, it's democratizing access to coding. You don't have to be a software engineer who studied at Stanford or Carnegie Mellon or wherever, right? To build out your website or your idea. It's like, you can now leverage AI to do a lot of that coding. And so it gives access to more people actually to build and to innovate and to share their ideas.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge thing. And you're right. I'm not a coder guy. I'm just not built that way. I'm a business visionary. I love big ideas. I just can't apply to the mindset of coding. I can do some basic WordPress HTML. And that's about it. You don't want me anywhere near your code. But with AI and Claude and stuff. Yeah. And I have friends. One friend, he was on the original Apple team that built the iPhone. My other friend did a lot of VC work with Amazon for their cloud. And now he has his own VC stuff that he does. And both of them were like really brilliant coders, and they just brag all over Facebook. They're like, this is the most amazing thing ever. This is almost better code than humans. And so I've tried some of it to build a membership website that I needed to do. And it's just making me the coding. And I'm just sitting there
You're doing it. It's happening.
I'm a dummy. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I really wish I could learn to code. Maybe I'll learn.
You don't need to now. You don't need to learn. Yeah, you can just work with the AI. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing.
TaskRabbit for coding. The other thing is too, a lot of those companies like yours that came out of that era, I forget what they called it, but there was a thing that they talked about one time where a lot of these companies just basically came from Craig's company, Craigslist.
Oh, Craigslist. Yeah. That's where I found the first 30 taskers for TaskRabbit. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And here's a fun fact for you. After I got going, I was good friends with the guys that started Lyft. So they're the competitor to Uber. But before they were competing with Uber, they were doing more like ride sharing, not on demand taxi services. But I was chatting with them one day. They came by the TaskRabbit office and they're like, oh, we really feel like we should compete with Uber and we feel like we have the site built, but we don't have the drivers. How do we get the drivers? Yeah. And I actually said, you know what? We background check everyone at TaskRabbit. How about I give you 100 taskers to start the Lyft service? And so I printed out a spreadsheet for them with names and emails that had all been background checked. And I said, here you go. You can reach out to them. And that's how Lyft got going.
Wow. I did not know that story.
Yeah. I actually haven't told that story very often.
That's
and
cool.
It's breaking news here on the Chris Voss Show.
Breaking news on the Chris Voss Show. Did you put it in your book?
I did put it in the book. It's in the book. You gotta, if you read the book, you'll hear lots of other stories I have never told.
But the book's not out yet, so we got it first. So thank you. Thank you very much. My friend Robert Scoble was at, who's the France guy? I used to hold that France convention every year before he got divorced.
Le Web?
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I went, Loic.
Loic, yes.
I went there every year, spoke at that conference. Yeah, it was a great conference. Yeah.
My friend Robert Scoble was in a shared taxi with Marissa Mayer sitting on his lap in the because they were all crammed in the taxi trying to leave. Yeah.
Yeah. What? That's where they launched Uber, I think, at Le Web in Paris. Yeah.
And on the other side of the taxi were the guys, the CEOs of Uber, and they were launching it. And so when he came back, he's like, "You're never going to believe this story," because we're best friends. And he goes, "You're never going to believe this story. I had Melissa Mayer sitting on my lap in a taxi, and I've got these guys from this company called Uber." And he told me about it. I was like, I don't know. It's going to work out.
Yeah. I was at that after party in Paris. I stayed up all night. I was there. Yeah. Good times. Yeah.
And now you look at it and you're just like, wow.
Of course.
Really
right.
Started from a pitching on something like that. So you've what's some of the most important things maybe you learned? Maybe you touch on this in your book over your career of being a VC and building companies, being a leader, et cetera, maybe.
Yeah, I think what really drove me to write the book, which is called Breaking Precedent, is empowering people and showing people that they don't have to follow the rules, that there are these invisible rules that govern us all the time. And most of them are just made up. By who? I don't know. We don't know. Like multi-generations, our grandparents, like that came before us. And thinking through, I talk a lot about in the book, having this entrepreneurial mindset, this concept of instead of deja vu, where you see something for the first time and you're like, oh, that feels really familiar. Have I seen that before? I talk about the opposite feeling, which is vujade. And you've seen something 1,000 times and you can look at it differently. And that's like the mindset you have to be in as an entrepreneur, because ideas are all around us. Invisible rules are all around us. And it really takes questioning and thinking through why. Does it really have to be this way? You know, have you ever said something needs to change? How often do we say that? Something needs to change. Does it really have to be this way? And it's like the book is all about, no, it doesn't. And you can be the one that makes the change.
Yeah. It's Uber. Who would have thought the regulations or the rules were you have to have one of those coins, those taxi coins.
The medallions.
The medallions. They're worth millions, or they used to be. And
talk about a corrupt system.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Vegas when they were trying to get Uber going, still do. But I was down there at the time, and the taxi companies, oh, my God, the lobbying and the fighting they were doing to block Lyft and Uber. And they were like, you have to own the medallion. And just like you said, have to own the medallion. Evidently.
Do you really have to? Who said you do?
Who said you do? And so breaking these rules and breaking even I think one of the most famous mess ups was an old CEO or someone from IBM said, there's no room for personal computers in people's home. Maybe 5 or 6 people, maybe. That's
right. Yeah. And isn't that what gave Apple the power to move ahead? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Break the rules, break all the things, and that's the great thing about being an entrepreneur is you experience something or you look at something and you can go, that sucks. I can probably do it better. And you come with a vision and you tinker and you toy and you tweak. And if you're lucky, you build something and people catch wind of it and it helps them. And you're paid usually in direct proportion to that. As I used to hear, I forget the radio guy used to say that. But yeah. And so what a great thing. As you go through your journey, what was it like learning your style of leadership and how to be a leader successfully?
Yeah, that's something they don't teach you in school. And I was an engineer, so they certainly didn't teach me anything like that in school. I graduated with a math computer science degree. I spent the first 8 years of my career actually at IBM. You mentioned IBM. I was a programmer there for a long time. And before I had the idea for my company, TaskRabbit. So there was a huge learning curve on how to build, scale a company, hire a team. I'd never hired anyone. I had never managed anyone. I had certainly never fired anyone. And these are hard lessons to learn. And so I credit surrounding myself with mentors, role models that I could look up to and see how they did it. One of those people at the time when I was just getting started is a man named Scott Griffith, who at the time was the CEO of Zipcar in the Boston area. And Scott and I met through a mutual friend. We really hit it off. He took me under his wing and let me sit in the Zipcar office for free for the first year that we existed. I got to watch him be a CEO, watch him inspire a team and bring on new people and build new products and deal with challenges and issues that would arise as well. And so it was really beneficial for me to be able to have that experience and that role model that I could look up to.
Yeah, that's really good. And the nice thing about, assume the nice thing about having VCs at your disposal is you can pick their brains and maybe get help from them on different things like leadership and things like that. I don't know. Do they offer that or do they just go?
Yeah, absolutely. It depends, right? It's like I'm a VC, but I'm also a founder operator. So I have lived experience to share. I have a lot of empathy for founders I invest in. So I think that is helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. It's something else. It's hard when you first do leadership because the first time you got to fire somebody, especially if they didn't earn it, maybe layoffs or something, or maybe wrapping, whatever. It's really hard. Now, if they did something wrong, I usually don't have any problem with it. I enjoy it.
It was still hard for me at first.
Was it?
I remember having to let go my first hire because it was not working out. And it was terrible. I was so nervous. I had to be coached on how to do it well. It was just awful. But you do it a few times and you get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it. Yeah. I always enjoyed firing people that had to come in or deserved it. They stole from us or did something. But the hardest part about most of it was make sure that you loop the back of their belt as you hold their collar and throw them through the second story window. That's the main, you got to get that belt. If you don't get that belt loop, they could flop. And you want them to hit the pavement the right way. My God. That's the important thing. I don't know. That's what you do that all the time, right? No. Anyway, what else do we want to plug on the show? We got your book coming out. Do we have a date for that? Anticipated date?
And it'll come out next summer. I don't have a date quite yet, but it's exciting. We're starting to work on the book cover. What is it going to look like? Stories that I've told in it are stories that I've never shared before, like this Lyft story. I have a few others up my sleeve too. So yeah, it's pretty exciting. I feel like now that, gosh, what has it been? It's been almost 10 years since I sold the company. I'm able to kind of speak more freely about the truth of what happened or different scenarios that happened. So there's some pretty interesting, I think, details that have never been shared before.
So what more do we want to plug while we have you on the show before we let you go?
Yeah, I think the last thing is the podcast, really. And I'm always looking for stories from precedent breakers, people that are shifting their industry or doing things differently. And so if you have a story you want to share, I'd love to hear it. And you can go to my website, breakingprecedent.com, and learn about more about the podcast there.
Get on there, tell your story. Podcasts are such a great way to share data and information and stuff. I love it. And I learned so much, kind of what we were talking about earlier, where you can have that paradigm shift of looking at things in a different angle. And sometimes that really unlocks some of the potential of that. That's the great thing I have with guests like yourself on the show. They'll bring different paradigms. I've talked about leadership 5 million times, written a book about it, all that stuff ad nauseum. But people will come on and they'll give me different spins or different angles. They'll remind me of something I forgot. And so I just love it. It's just so wonderful. And I find people really interesting too. They, the choices they made through lives, what they decide to do with their lives. I find it really interesting.
Yep.
Yep.
I love it. I love hearing people's stories, inspired every day. I get to hear someone's story. And then I think what's really cool too is creating this framework and this toolkit for other people that are trying to break through something, are doing things differently. And it's like, we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. We can all learn from each other. And that's why we share our stories, why we share our books and our podcasts and everything that we do. It's been wonderful to have you on. Thank you very much for coming on. Give people a final pitch out to check out your podcast, your books, all your works there, etc.
Yeah, you can reach me at leahsolivan.com, breakingprecedent.com. And if you have a company that you're building in its early stage tech, I would love to hear about it as well. You can email me at deals@precedent.vc.
Thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it, Leah.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
Thank you. And thanks so much for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, YouTube.com/Chris Voss, and all the wonderful places around the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you guys next time.
You've been listening to the most amazing, intelligent podcast ever made to improve your brain and your life. Warning, consuming too much of the Chris Voss Show podcast can lead to people thinking you're smarter, younger, and irresistible sexy. Consume in regularly moderated amounts. Consult a doctor for any resulting brain bleed.
All right, Leah, great show. Wonderful job there.
Awesome.